My name's Henry. I'm just a regular second grader who likes pizza more than chicken nuggets and thinks church services are kind of long sometimes. Nothing about me made it seem like I'd be the one to carry a super important warning for everyone. But God always picks the unexpected people, right? Like how he chose shepherds over smart people, fishermen over philosophers, and now a kid over grown-up theologians. March 1st started just like any other Sunday at home. My family and I went to church in the morning. It felt like a normal day, just like all the other Sundays when we do the same things, like lots of families do. The pastor talked about staying awake and being ready. I wasn't really listening. How could anyone know those words would end up being so important just a few hours later? After church, my little sister Emma and I got into the backseat of my dad's car. It was a normal moment, just a usual argument about what to have for lunch, pizza or chicken nuggets. It's crazy because everything felt so normal. But what happened next was something I never saw coming. 1 second, we were arguing about food. The next, everything changed. A semi-truck driver fell asleep at the wheel and crossed 3 lanes of traffic. The impact on the passenger side where I sat was devastating. I don't remember the collision. There was no screaming, no awareness of metal crushing metal. 1 second I was talking about pizza. The next second, there was darkness. But not for long. What came after that darkness has haunted my mother every night since. Because when I opened my eyes again, I wasn't in the wreckage. I wasn't in pain. I was standing in a place that shouldn't exist according to everything we think we know about reality. Light surrounded me. It wasn't like any light I've ever seen on Earth. It wasn't harsh like the hospital lights I woke up to later, and it wasn't even like the brightest sunlight on a summer day in Houston. This was living light. It felt like it was alive, and it felt like it loved me. It was a warm, golden white glow that didn't hurt my eyes at all. In fact, it made my eyes feel better, like I was seeing for the first time. There were no walls to hold the light in, no floor to stand on, and no ceiling above me. It was just infinite space filled with this beautiful, glowing peace. I felt safer in that moment than I ever felt in my mom's lap or tucked under my favorite blanket at night. This was a kind of safety that I can't really explain with kid words. It was like all the scary things in the world had never existed at all. I looked around, trying to figure out where I was. You know how when you dream, things feel a little bit blurry or weird? This wasn't like that. This felt more real than sitting in my classroom or playing in the backyard. Everything was so sharp and clear. My hands looked different too. They didn't have any scratches or dirt on them. I felt light, like I could float, but I was standing firm on nothing but light. And then I saw him. Jesus was walking toward me through the glow. I didn't need anyone to tell me who he was. I didn't need to see a name tag or look at a picture. I just knew him. It was the same way I know my mom's voice in a crowded grocery store. My soul just recognized him. He wasn't wearing a crown of gold or fancy robes like a king in a movie. He wore a simple white robe that seemed to be made out of the same living light that was everywhere else. But his face, I wish everyone could see his face. He looked at me with so much love that I felt like I was melting. He smiled, and that smile was better than any birthday present or any "I love you" I've ever heard. It was like every good feeling I ever had in my whole life was squished into 1 second and then multiplied by 1,000,000. I started to cry. I wasn't sad and I wasn't scared. I was just so happy to be near him. It felt like I had been away on a long, long trip and I finally walked through my own front door. He knelt down so he was my height and he didn't say anything at first. He just let me cry and held my hands. His hands were warm and strong. I saw the marks on his wrists, and even though I'm only 7, I knew what they were from. He didn't look like he was in pain though. He looked like he was proud of those marks. Like they were the reason I could be there with him. What happened next is why I'm writing this. Jesus didn't just want to hug me and send me back to my mom and dad. He had something to show me, something very serious. He stood up and took my hand. We started walking through that big, bright space. Even though we were walking, it didn't feel like we were going from one room to another. It was more like the light was changing around us. As we walked, I heard the most beautiful sound. I thought it was a radio at first, but it wasn't. It was the air. The air was singing. It wasn't like a song with words you can spell, but it was a song that made my heart beat in time with it. Everything in that place was in a perfect rhythm. There was no noise, just music. There was no mess, just beauty. Then Jesus stopped. He pointed his hand away from us, and suddenly I could see the earth. It looked like a little marble hanging in the middle of nothing. It was blue and green and had white clouds, just like the pictures in my school books. But as I looked closer, I saw that it was covered in something gross. A thick gray fog was wrapped all around the planet. It looked like the smoke from a big campfire, but it was darker and uglier. It was moving and swirling, covering up the houses and the trees and the people. It made the whole world look gloomy and cold. When I saw it, I felt a heavy feeling in my tummy, like I'd done something wrong. I looked up at Jesus, and he wasn't smiling anymore. He looked very sad. His eyes were filled with tears. And he was looking at the earth like a father looks at a broken toy he can't fix. "Do you see that, Henry?" he asked me. His voice was like music, but it was heavy music. I nodded my head. "That is confusion," Jesus said. "That is what the enemy is doing. He is throwing blankets of lies over my people so they can't see the truth. He wants them to be scared. He wants them to doubt me. He wants them to get so lost in the fog that they forget I'm coming back for them." I asked him who the enemy was, and his voice got very deep and strong. It made the light around us shake a little bit. "The one who hates me and wants to hurt my children," he said. "He knows his time is almost up. He's like a person who is losing a game and starts trying to break all the pieces. He's working as hard as he can to trick people into thinking they are safe when they are in danger." Then Jesus showed me something that changed the way I look at everyone. He let me see through the fog. I saw people walking around in their daily lives. They looked so busy. I saw a man in a fancy suit running to a meeting, looking at his watch every 2 seconds. He was so worried about being late that he didn't see the beautiful sunset or the person next to him who was crying. I saw a woman sitting at a table with her family, but everyone was looking at a little glowing screen in their hands. Nobody was talking. Nobody was looking at each other. They were all in the same room, but they were miles apart. Jesus showed me a big church too. It was beautiful on the outside, with tall windows and big doors. Inside, people were singing songs, and the preacher was talking. But as I looked closer, I saw that many of the people weren't really there. Their bodies were in the seats, but their minds were thinking about what they were going to eat for lunch, or a fight they had with a friend, or how much money they wanted to spend on a new car. Their hearts were like empty boxes. They were saying the words, but they weren't feeling the love. "They are sleepwalking," Jesus whispered. "They think they are awake, but they are dreaming the enemy's dream. They think they have all the time in the world, but the sun is setting." Then the scene changed again. Jesus pointed back at the earth, and I saw something amazing. Tiny, bright lights started popping up through the gray fog. They looked like the little Christmas lights my dad puts on our roof, but they were coming from people. These lights were scattered all over the place, some in big cities, some in tiny houses in the woods. They started to flicker, and then they grew brighter and brighter until they were like little stars. Suddenly, those lights started to lift off the ground. They began to rise up, higher and higher. At first, it was just a few, but then there were hundreds, then thousands, then so many I couldn't count them. They were piercing through that ugly gray fog like needles going through fabric. They left trails of gold behind them as they flew up into the sky. It was the coolest thing I've ever seen. I wanted to jump up and down and cheer for them. "Those are my children," Jesus said, and I could hear how proud he was. "These are the ones who stayed close to me. They didn't let the fog get in their eyes. They kept their lamps lit. They were waiting for me, and now they are coming home." The lights kept coming until the sky was full of them. They were all flying toward us, toward the big light where we were standing. But then I looked back down at the earth, and I saw the people who were left behind. It was the saddest thing in the world. I saw people running out of their houses, looking up at the sky. They saw the lights leaving, and they realized what was happening. I saw a woman reaching her hands up, screaming and crying, trying to jump off the ground, but she couldn't fly. Something was holding her down. I saw a man kneeling on the sidewalk, hitting the ground with his fists and yelling, "Wait, I'm coming. Don't leave me." Their faces were full of a kind of scared that I didn't know existed. It wasn't like being scared of a spider or a movie. It was the sound of realizing you missed the most important thing ever, and you can't go back and fix it. The fog around them started to get even thicker and darker, and the people looked so small and alone. I started to cry again, but this time I was shaking. Why can't they go? I asked Jesus. Can't we go down and help them? Can't we pull them up? Jesus put his hand on my shoulder. His touch was the only thing that kept me from falling over. They were not ready, Henry, he said softly. I called to them many times. I sent people to knock on their doors. I spoke to their hearts in the middle of the night. But they turned up the music so they wouldn't hear me. They stayed so busy with their own lives that they didn't have room for mine. They thought they could wait until tomorrow to be ready, but tomorrow became too late. He looked at me with those deep, sad eyes. The time is very close now. Before Christmas comes this year, the world will see things they never thought they would see. I am coming for my children, but so many are still sleeping in the fog. Then Jesus showed me another vision. I saw a huge field of flowers. They were all different colors, and they smelled better than anything on earth. But in the middle of the field, there were weeds growing. These weeds were tall and had sharp thorns. They were wrapping around the flowers and squeezing them so they couldn't grow. The flowers are my words in people's hearts, Jesus explained, and the thorns are the worries of this life. People are so worried about their clothes, their houses, and what other people think of them that they are letting the thorns kill the truth I gave them. They care more about being comfortable in the world than being ready for my kingdom. I saw a person trying to walk through the thorns toward Jesus, but they were carrying a huge backpack full of heavy rocks. Every time they tried to move, the rocks pulled them back. They were crying because they wanted to get to him, but they wouldn't let go of the backpack. What's in the bag? I asked. Everything they think they need more than me, Jesus said. Their pride, their money, their secrets, and their plans. They want me, but they want their rocks more. To follow me, you have to have empty hands so you can hold on to mine. Jesus looked at me with a look that made me feel like he was reading the pages of my heart. He knew I wanted to help those people left behind, but he had more to show me so I could tell everyone exactly what was happening. He took my hand again, and the light around us shifted like a movie scene changing. Suddenly, we were standing in a place that looked like a giant room full of mirrors, but they weren't normal mirrors. When I looked into them, I didn't see my own face. I saw different people on earth. In one mirror, I saw a man standing on a stage with thousands of people watching him. He was smiling and talking about how God wants everyone to have big houses and fancy cars. He was using Jesus' name a lot, but every time he said it, the name sounded like it was made of plastic. It didn't have that beautiful music in it that I heard when Jesus spoke. The people in the crowd were cheering and throwing money. They looked so happy, but I noticed something scary. They all had little earplugs in their ears. Tiny gray snakes were whispering into the earplugs. What are those things? I asked, pointing at the snakes. Those are the voices of the enemy, Jesus said. His voice was very serious. They sound like me, and they use my words, but they are twisting the truth. They tell people that they can follow me and still love the world. They tell them they don't have to change and they don't have to be ready. They make my people feel comfortable in their sleep so they don't wake up before I arrive. I saw another mirror. This one showed a woman sitting in a church pew. She was singing a song from a book, but she was looking at her watch. Her heart looked like it had a thick layer of dust on it. She was doing all the right things on the outside, but inside, she was thinking about a mean thing she wanted to say to her neighbor. Many people think that being a Christian is just a performance, Jesus explained. They think if they show up to a building and say the right words, they are safe. But I don't look at the building or the clothes, I look at the heart. I am looking for the ones who actually know me, not just the ones who know about me. Then the mirrors disappeared, and we were standing on a high hill overlooking a dark valley. Down in the valley, I saw 5 groups of people. They were the only ones who weren't covered in that thick, gray fog. They were the ones I saw rising up as lights earlier. Henry, look closely, Jesus said. I want you to see why these people are ready. There are 5 kinds of my children who will be taken when I come. He pointed to the first group. They were standing on the edges of the valley, looking up at the sky. They weren't playing games or sleeping. They were watching. It was like they were waiting for a school bus that they knew was coming any second. Some of them were talking to each other, saying things like, "He's almost here. Do you feel it?" I saw a little boy in this group. He was sitting on a porch, and even though he had toys, he kept stopping his play to look up at the clouds. His eyes were bright and full of hope. He wasn't scared. He was excited. These are the watchers, Jesus told me. They are the ones who live every day like I could walk through the door right now. They don't make plans for 10 years from now without thinking about eternity first. They didn't let the world distract them. Because they are watching for me, they can see through the enemy's fog. It was easy to see the difference between them and the people in the cities. The people in the cities were looking down at their feet or their phones. The watchers were looking up. Then Jesus showed me the second group. These people were very busy, but they weren't busy like the people I saw before. They were running around the dark valley, carrying little lanterns. I saw a woman giving a warm blanket to a person who was shivering. I saw a man sitting on the ground with a child who looked lonely, telling him stories about Jesus. Every time they helped someone, their lanterns grew brighter. They were tired and their clothes were a little dirty, but they didn't stop. They were using everything they had to help others. I saw a man take the only piece of bread he had and break it in half to give it to a stranger. When he did that, his whole body started to glow with a soft golden light. These are the servants, Jesus said. I could hear the love in his voice. They didn't just say they loved me. They showed it by loving the people I love. They used their time and their money to build my kingdom instead of their own. They didn't live for themselves. When I come back, I will find them working in my field, and I will take them home to rest. I noticed that the servants and the watchers were often the same people. The ones who were watching were also the ones who were serving. It was like because they knew Jesus was coming, they wanted to make sure they did as much good as they could before the time ran out. Jesus then showed me the third group. These people were very quiet. Some were alone in small rooms, and some were in groups. But they all had one thing in common. They were talking to Jesus, not like the memorized prayers I sometimes say before dinner, but real talking. They were telling him they were sorry for their mistakes. They were telling him how much they loved him. Their hearts were like clear windows. I could see right through them. There was no hidden dirt, no secrets, and no dark spots. Every time they did something wrong, they immediately asked for forgiveness, and the light of Jesus washed them clean again. These are the pure in heart, Jesus said. They aren't perfect people who never make mistakes. They are the ones who stay close to me so I can keep them clean. They don't hide from me. They value their friendship with me more than anything else in the world. They listen for my voice in the quiet, and they follow where I lead. They are ready because their hearts are already in heaven with me. I saw a girl about my age in this group. She was crying because she had been mean to her sister, and she was asking Jesus to help her be kind. As she prayed, I saw the gray fog try to move toward her, but it couldn't touch her. Her heart was like a shield of light that pushed the darkness away. Then he pointed to the fourth group. They were kneeling in the shadows of the valley, but their voices were like a hum that vibrated the ground. I could see their words rising up like sparks that hit the fog and punched holes right through it. These are the intercessors, Jesus said. They are the ones who spend their lives talking to me on behalf of others. They pray for their enemies, for the lost, and for the world. Their prayers are like a wall of fire that keeps the fog from swallowing more souls. They aren't looking for credit or attention. They are fighting the battle for the souls of others. 10. They are ready because their lives were spent building a bridge of prayer between earth and heaven. Finally, Jesus showed me the fifth group. They were people who looked like they had been through a lot of pain. I saw a man who had been cheated and a woman who had been treated very badly by her friends. But as I looked at their hearts, they weren't dark or heavy. They were soft and glowing. These are the forgivers, Jesus told me. The enemy tried to harden their hearts with bitterness and anger, but they refused. They chose to love when it was hard and to let go of every grudge. They gave their hurts to me and kept their hearts soft. They didn't carry the weight of bitterness into the fog. They are light enough to rise because they left their burdens at the foot of my cross. You see, Henry, Jesus continued, the enemy wants people to think that being good enough is enough. But good enough is a lie from the fog. These 5 groups, the watchers, the servants, the pure in heart, the intercessors, and the forgivers, are the only ones who are truly ready. Everyone else is just pretending, and pretending won't let you fly when the trumpet sounds. Suddenly the valley disappeared, and we were standing in a place that looked like a big workshop. There were angels everywhere. They were moving very fast, carrying scrolls and blowing on silver trumpets to test them. The feeling in the air was like the feeling right before a big thunderstorm, where everything gets real still and you can feel the electricity. Everything is ready, Jesus said. His voice sounded like thunder and a whisper at the same time. The table is set, the rooms are prepared, I am standing at the door. He looked at me with a look so intense that I felt like I was being hugged by fire. But look at the world again, Henry. Tell me what you see. I looked down and I saw something that made me want to hide behind Jesus's robe. I saw the gray fog turning into a dark, swirling storm. Inside the storm, I saw shadows that looked like monsters. They were whispering to people, telling them, "You have plenty of time. Don't listen to the warnings. It's just a story. Go back to sleep." I saw a preacher in a big church tell his people, "God is too nice to leave anyone behind. Just be a good person and you'll be fine." When he said that, a huge cloud of fog swallowed the whole church. The people inside stopped watching. They stopped serving. They stopped asking for pure hearts. They just went to sleep. This is the great deception, Jesus said. The enemy is using the people who should be waking up my children to put them to sleep instead. They are teaching a version of me that doesn't exist, a Jesus who doesn't care about truth or holiness. But I am holy, and my children must be ready. I saw a vision of a giant clock. It didn't have numbers, it just had a heartbeat, and the heartbeat was slowing down. Every time it beat, the world got a little darker, but the lights of the watchers and the servants got a little brighter. When the heartbeat stops, the door closes, Jesus said, and the door is very close to closing. I felt a huge weight of sadness again. I thought about my friends at school, my neighbors, and even people I didn't know. I wanted to scream at them to wake up. I wanted to run into those churches and tell the preachers they were wrong. "You must tell them," Henry, Jesus said, as if he knew what I was thinking. "You must tell them that the fog is real, but the light is stronger. Tell them to stop listening to the voices that make them comfortable in their sins. Tell them to look up, to get to work, and to get their hearts right with me." Jesus looked at me with those eyes that seemed to hold all the stars in the sky and every drop of water in the ocean. He didn't just look at me, he looked into me. He saw my favorite toys, my hidden fears, and the way I felt when my mom tucked me in. And that's when everything changed. That was the moment the whole reason for my trip to this place of light became clear. It wasn't just a visit, it was a mission. "Henry, I need you to go back." When he said those words, I felt like someone had dropped a heavy rock in my chest. Go back? To the world with the gray fog? To the place where cars crash and people get hurt? To a world where I had to sit through long church services instead of standing here in this perfect music? I started to cry again, and this time, my whole body was shaking. I grabbed onto his white robe as hard as I could. I didn't want to leave. I wanted to stay in the light forever. I wanted to keep holding his hand and never feel scared again. Everything in me was screaming to stay in that hug of infinite love. I didn't want to go back to being a little boy who sometimes gets lonely or sad. "I don't understand," I whispered. My voice sounded small and shaky. "I'm only 7. I can't even spell the big words. I'm just a kid who likes pizza. How can I tell grown-ups about all this? They won't listen to me. They'll think I'm just making up stories." Jesus knelt down again, and his hands were like warm blankets on my shoulders. "That's exactly why I chose you, Henry," he said softly. Adults like to make things complicated. They like to argue and talk about rules and theories, but Children just tell what they've seen. Your heart is simple, and that simplicity is like a sharp sword that can cut through the thick fog. Some people will hear your voice and their own souls will wake up because they recognize the truth. Others will laugh at you. They will say you were just dreaming or that your brain was doing something strange because of the accident. But it doesn't matter what they say. Your job isn't to make them believe. Your job is just to deliver the message. What they do with it is between them and me. He stood up, and the light around him got even brighter, like 1,000 suns that didn't burn. He gestured toward the earth again, and this time he showed me something I'll never forget. I saw a huge bridge. On one side was the earth, covered in that dark fog. On the other side was the place of light where we were. The bridge was beautiful and glowing, but many people were walking right past it. They were so busy looking at the ground or chasing after little gray shadows that they didn't even see the entrance. Tell them this exactly, Jesus said. His voice sounded like it was coming from inside my own heart. Tell them that before Christmas arrives this year, the world is going to change. Tell them they must prepare. The enemy is working overtime. He's like a thief trying to steal as many people as he can before the owner of the house gets home. He's using noise and business and fear to keep them from looking up. Then he showed me a vision of a family sitting in a living room. They had a big, beautiful Christmas tree with lots of lights, but the room felt cold. The parents were arguing about bills and the kids were grumpy because they wanted more toys. They were surrounded by the fog and they didn't even know it. Then I saw the mom stop. She closed her eyes and whispered, "Jesus, I'm so distracted. Please help me see you." As soon as she said that, a tiny spark of light appeared in her chest. The fog around her started to thin out. She didn't get a new car or more money, but she got a piece of the light. "That is what I want," Jesus said. "I want them to stop. I want them to look at me. Tell them that knowing about me isn't the same as knowing me. It's like knowing a famous person's name but never having a conversation with them. I want to be their friend. I want to be their king. I want to be the one they talk to when they are sad and the one they thank when they are happy. He showed me another vision of a preacher in a church. The preacher was saying, "Everything is fine. God loves you and he wants you to have a great life. Just keep coming here and you'll be okay." But as he spoke, I saw the fog coming out of his mouth. It was wrapping around the people in the seats, making them feel sleepy and bored. They felt comfortable, but they weren't getting ready. They were like people sleeping in a house that was on fire. "Tell them to test every voice," Jesus warned. "If someone tells them they can follow me without changing their hearts, they are not speaking for me. If someone tells them they have plenty of time, they are not speaking for me. My words are in the Bible. Tell them to read what I actually said, not what people say I said. My voice is the one that leads them to holiness and love, not just to feeling good." He looked at me with so much urgency that I felt like I was being pushed back toward the earth. Tell them to pray, not just saying words, but really talking. Tell them to ask me to break the fog. I love them so much, Henry. I don't want to leave anyone behind. That's why I'm sending you back. I'm giving them one more warning because I love them too much to let them sleep through the most important moment in history. The light started to swirl around me. I felt like I was becoming part of the music. "One more thing," Jesus said, and his voice was the last thing I heard before the white light swallowed everything. "When you wake up and the doctors say it's a miracle, when they see that your heart stopped for 22 minutes but your brain is perfectly fine, tell them that is my signature. That is how they will know the message is real. I am the Lord of life, and I've given you back your life so you can save theirs." Everything went blindingly white. Then, a huge rush of sound hit me. It was like being underwater and finally popping your head up to breathe. I heard beeping. Lots of beeping. I heard people running and shouting. I felt a sharp pain in my chest, and my throat felt like I had swallowed sand. I forced my eyes open. I saw a white ceiling and bright, cold lights. My mom's face appeared above me. She looked like she had been crying for 1,000 years. Her eyes were red and her hair was messy, but when she saw my eyes open, she let out a sound that was half a laugh and half a scream. "Henry! Oh, thank God, Henry!" she cried. She grabbed my hand so hard it almost hurt, but I didn't mind. I could feel her warmth. "Mama," I whispered. It was hard to talk. I saw Jesus. He told me. He told me to tell people. He's coming back before Christmas. We have to be ready. My mom just kept crying and kissing my forehead. Nurses and doctors came running in. I saw a man in a white coat looking at a screen and then looking at me. He looked like he had seen a ghost. He kept shaking his head and saying, "This is impossible. He was down too long, 22 minutes. There should be damage. There's no damage." But I knew why. I knew it was the signature Jesus talked about. Over the next few days in that hospital in Houston, I told everyone. I told the nurses who brought me juice. I told the doctor who checked my eyes. I told my dad and my sister Emma. Some people looked at me with wide eyes, and I could see the little spark of light starting in them. Other people just smiled at me like I was a cute kid who had a vivid dream. But I didn't care. I just kept saying what Jesus told me to say. Today is March 5th. It's only been a few days since the accident on March 1st. My mom is sitting next to me right now, helping me type this out because my hands still get a little tired. We're in our house, and I'm eating a piece of pizza, but everything feels different. When I look out the window at the cars driving by and the people walking their dogs, I don't just see people. I see the fog. I see how thick it is and how much it's trying to hide the truth. This letter is my testimony. I was dead for 22 minutes. My heart didn't beat and my lungs didn't breathe. The doctors said that after 9 minutes without oxygen, my brain should have been ruined. But look at me. I'm sitting here thinking clearly and telling you about the King of the universe. That is the proof. That is the signature. You might think I'm just a kid and you don't have to listen. You might think March is too early to talk about Christmas, but Jesus was very specific. He showed me what's coming, and he showed me who will be ready. There are only 5 types of Christians who will be taken when that trumpet sounds. I saw them rising like stars through the smoke, and I want you to be one of them. First, there are the watchers. These aren't people who just talk about the end of the world like it's a scary movie. They are people who live every single day like Jesus is already standing on the porch. Think about it. If you knew your favorite person was coming to visit today, would you leave your house messy? Would you be mean to your sister? No, you'd be waiting by the window. The watchers are waiting by the window of their hearts. They don't get caught up in the fog of someday. For them, someday is today. They check their hearts every morning. They ask themselves, if he comes at noon, am I ready? They don't let the world's noise drown out the sound of his footsteps. Second, there are the servants. I saw these people working so hard in the dark valley. They weren't trying to get famous or get rich. They were just loving people because Jesus loves people. They were feeding people, listening to people, and giving away what they had. Their lights were so bright because they weren't trying to shine for themselves. They were shining for him. Faith isn't just a feeling you have in your head while you sit in a chair. It's something you do with your hands and your feet. The servants are the ones who are busy doing what Jesus did. When he comes back, he's going to look for the people who are doing his work. If you're only serving yourself, how will he recognize you? Third, there are the pure in heart. This is the part that's really important. These people stay close to Jesus so he can keep them clean. It's like when I go outside and get muddy, the first thing I do is come in and get a bath. The pure in heart don't try to hide their mud from God. They go to him and say, I messed up, I was angry, I was selfish, please wash me. And he does. Their hearts are clear like glass. They don't have secret rooms in their hearts where they keep bad thoughts or lies. They want to be like him. They talk to him all the time, not just because they have to, but because they love him. Fourth, there are the intercessors. I saw these people kneeling in the shadows of the valley, and their voices were more powerful than any storm. They aren't the ones in the spotlights. They are the ones in the quiet rooms, praying for their families, their neighbors, and people they've never met. They fight the enemy on their knees, and their prayers are what hold back the fog so others can see the light. They are ready because their hearts are deeply connected to the heart of Jesus for a lost world. Fifth, there are the forgivers. This group was so beautiful. They are people who have been hurt, betrayed, or treated unfairly, but they didn't let bitterness grow in their hearts. They chose to let go of the rocks of grudges and anger. Because they chose to forgive, their hearts remain soft and light. The enemy couldn't weigh them down with the chains of the past. They are ready because they have the same heart as Jesus, who forgave even when he was on the cross. If you don't see yourself in those 5 groups, please listen to me. The fog is very thick right now. It's telling you that you can wait. It's telling you that you're good enough. It's telling you that this letter is just a story from a kid in Texas. But that is the enemy's whisper. He wants you to stay on the ground when the lights start to rise. He wants you to feel that terrible regret I saw on the faces of the people left behind. Jesus told me that time is running out. The heartbeat of the world is slowing down. Before Christmas arrives this year, things are going to happen that will wake up the world, but for many it will be too late to get ready. The window is closing. You have a choice right now. You can keep walking through the fog, or you can look up. You can keep carrying your heavy backpack of pride and rocks, or you can drop it and reach for his hand. I saw the rapture. I saw the millions of lights flying up into the music, and I saw the millions of people who stayed behind realizing they had chosen the wrong things. Jesus sent me back because he loves you. He doesn't want you to be one of the ones screaming on the sidewalk. He wants you to be one of the stars. I did my job. I've told you what I saw. I've told you what he said. The choice is yours now. Don't wait for a sign, because my life is the sign. My 22 minutes of death and my perfect brain are the sign. Get ready. Watch. Serve and keep your heart pure. Because when that trumpet sounds, there won't be any more time to talk about pizza or anything else. There will only be the light or the dark. Choose the light.